guys, I know Miss Gizzy and I are out today, but that doesn't mean we can't take notes. So, I'm going to help you with your notes today. Today we're going to be talking about reporting category number 3. So you should be in the 3rd section of your journal. Remember we talked about how each section is going to be a different thing. I know Miss Hitchcock's class, Miss Gizzy's class, I don't know what to tell you. If y'all don't have sections, just do it on the next page. But it's about introduction to proportions. Now, I split my paper in half. There's a line down the paper. I don't want to show you everything because as you can see, there's stuff behind here. But if all I can tell you is if you're having trouble or you're getting behind, please ask your substitute to slow down. It's okay. So on this part, so you can see my line, on this part of the side of the page, it's going to say the sometimes works method. Now this doesn't work every single time, it only works sometimes, but it is a shorter way, so we are going to show you, but just know it does not work 100% of the time. So right now, let's look at what a proportion is. A proportion is just 4 over 8 is equal to x over 32. I know y'all saw all of this last year. So this as a whole is a proportion. Now again, please ask your substitute to slow down and pause the video so you guys can get all this written down. Now what do I mean by the sometimes work method? Well, you look at your denominators. How did we get from 8 to 32? Good, we multiplied by 4. So what you do to the denominators, you must do to the numerators. So 4 times 4 is equal to x. Alright, so 4 times 4 is x. X is 16. A fun fact about scale factors is scale factor, this is called a scale factor by the way, your scale factor is 4 because you multiply it by 4. Your scale factor can only be multiplication. It can never be division, it can never be addition or subtraction, it can only be multiplication. Okay, so that's a sometimes work method. Well, Ms. Hitchcock, let's do something that I know is going to work all the time, and I'm so happy you're thinking that because that's what we're going to do now. Alright, this is the always works method. Alright? Give me time to write it down. Catch up. Alright, what is our goal? Well, our goal, do not do the colors yet. Just write 4 over 9 is equal to 5 over x. 4 over 9 is equal to 5 over x. What is our goal? Our goal is to solve for our variable. Ms. Hitchcock, what's a variable? You guys know what a variable is. A variable is just a number that is represented, well, it's a letter that represents a number. I'm sorry. It's a letter that represents a number. So it could be X, could be Y, could be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It could be whatever. So your goal is to solve for your variable. Alright, well, how do we do that? The first step is to use cross products. I put in parentheses a little multiplication sign because we are going to multiply. So we use cross products. Well, do you see how I underline them in this different colors? You're going to cross your two numbers one way. You're going to multiply. You're going to cross the two numbers this way. Ms. Hitchcock, do we have to circle the numbers? Yes, you have to circle what you're multiplying together. So you do cross products. So your paper should look like this right now. Now I'm scooting up. So I multiplied 9 times 5. 9 times 5 is equal to 4 times x. So I wrote 4 times x. Now let's simplify that down. You know 9 times 5 is 45. And 4 times x is simply just 4x. That's all it is. It's easy, right? Alright, and our goal, remember, our goal is to still solve for our variable. So I want to know, what does x represent? Well, instead of guessing checking, there's an easier way. By the way, I did make a comment. Make sure your coefficient is always before your variable. And see how I highlighted again? Your coefficient is what is in front of your variable. Okay, what is in front of your variable. So our coefficient in this case is positive 4. Our variable is x. I'm giving you some time to write down. Alrighty, our second step is, our goal is still to find out what x represents. So our second step is to divide both of our sides by our coefficient to isolate your variable. The amount of times you're going to hear Miss Gizzy and I say this year is going to annoy you so much. But divide both sides by your coefficient to isolate your variable. What does this look like? I could say it a million times, but you're still not going to know what it looks like, right? So, what it looks like is, I'm just going to show you the rest of it. Look up here though, please. We want to divide by our coefficient because we want to isolate our variable. Isolate. Think about when you hear the word isolate. It means to get alone, to be by itself, to, I don't really know how else to explain that, just to get it by itself. So, in order to get it by itself, if we divide 4 by 4, that's going to give us 1, right? So, it's going to turn into 1. So, that's going to cancel out. But what you do to one side, just like what you do to your denominator, you do to your numerator. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if we divide the left side or the right side by 4, we have to divide the left side by 4. So 45 divided by 4 is 11 and 25/100ths, and you can see all my pretty work over here. Okay, so then you have 45 divided by 4 is 11 and 25/100ths is equal to 1x, because remember 4 divided by 4 is really 1. But why does it cancel out? Because that's the same thing as saying if you have 1x, isn't that 1x as well? So the 1 is kind of like zeros at the end of decimals. Like they're not really necessary, but you can leave them there if you want to, but you don't have to have them. So we're not going to have it. So we have 11/25ths is equal to x. And then x is equal to 11/25ths. I want your variable, and I'm pretty sure Miss Gizzy is going to be the same way. We want your variable on the left side of your equation. The left side of your equation. Alright? So, okay, now that you have all these steps, tell your substitute to rewind and go back and write what you don't have down. I'll scoot it up. Maybe you missed something up here. While you're doing that, you have 3 your turn problems. Your turn problems. You can do them right here, like I'm going to, or you might want some extra room to work out, so you might want to flip to the next page. That's completely up to you, though. But anyway, here are 3 your turn problems. Let's work them out together. Okay, my first step says to use cross products. You can't see what I just pointed at, but the first step is to use cross products. So I'm going to, products means to multiply, so I'm going to cross my numbers, I'm going to multiply them together. So I'm going to have 15x is equal to 80 times 8. Now my mental math, I already know that is 640. Okay, so what is our goal? Our goal is to solve for our variable, but more mathematically, our goal is to isolate our variable by dividing by the coefficient. So I'm going to divide by my coefficient so I can isolate x, so I can get x by itself. The only way to get my x by itself is to get away this 15. The only way to get the 15 away is to divide by it. You do the opposite. You do the opposite of multiplication, so that's division. That cancels out. So x is equal to whatever 640 divided by 15 is. So you work that out. I flipped this over, and I already had all the work there. You should have got x is equal to 42.6. 42 and 6/10. But what did you know about the 6/10? The 6/10 is repeating. It's repeating. So make sure you put a repeating bar over it. Alright, going on to the next one. 7 and 9/10, I'm sorry, divided by x is equal to 1 over 25. How do you solve for your variable x? Well, you said cross products. So 1 times x is going to be equal to 7.9 times 25. And if you work that out, I'm actually going to give you a few seconds to work it out. If your substitute wouldn't mind pausing this for me, please, so you can work it out. When you're finished, just sit there quietly, and the substitute, when the majority of the class is finished, will you please press play? Alright, so if you worked it out, you got 7 and 9 tenths times 25 is equal to 197 and 5 tenths. Now, we know that because there's only one x, that just translates down to just x. That should help a little bit. And it just translates down to x, and so therefore x is equal to 197 and 5 tenths. Now, if you got confused on any one of these, put a star next to it, and when we start doing notes tomorrow, raise your hand and ask Miss Gizzy or I to go over it in class, and maybe I did a terrible job in this video and you don't get it at all. I'll help you tomorrow as well. Alright, last but not least, you can maybe try it on your own and then check your answer with me when you're finished, or you may watch up here. I have 9 and 4 tenths x is equal to 6 times 32. I know that 6 times 32 is going to be equal to 192. How do we isolate our variable x? By dividing by the coefficient. 192 divided by 9 and 4 tenths. Work it out. Substitutes, if you wouldn't mind pausing it, please. You should have gotten 1,804 and 8 tenths. Okay, now I'm going to zoom all this back out so you can make sure you have everything. Move back in a little bit. And if you have any questions, please, please, please ask us tomorrow. We would love to help you. Thank you for being so patient with us, with us not being here today, and we know you're being fantastic students. For the remainder of the day, you're going to work on your homework, and it's just a simple pizzazz page, page E9, and make sure you're doing your work on a separate sheet of paper, no pens, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.